Hello, one and all. Welcome to this edition of Kitz Corner. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So apparently America has a new enemy. A very, very lucrative enemy. But surprisingly, this enemy is a 21-year-old American citizen. Now, how does a 21-year-old become public enemy number one in the mainstream media lens? Well, surprisingly, this 21-year-old who is a registered National Guardsman for the Massachusetts state has leaked out certain documents and crucial documents about the Pentagon and crucial documents about our war machine and how we're doing lucrative wars and killing and slaughtering in Ukraine, and it's not in favor of the mainstream media. So, of course, if someone's leaking out critical information, just like they do with Julian Assange, just like they did with Edward Snowden, they're going to smear him 9 ways to Sunday. Because vital information that is critical for someone like us to understand, to know that the Pentagon is doing these lucrative tasks, is something that they don't want us to know. They want us to be out of the dark because an unknowing public is better for them to brainwash, manipulate, and propagandize. But now people are knowing better. At least the people that haven't been following along with our Ukraine coverage and following along with what the war machine really is. They're waking up to it. And it took a 21-year-old on a gamer server, more or less, to figure this out. So here's where this gets interesting. And this is from USA Today. And they said how Jack Teixeira, a 21-year-old guard, National Guardsman, leaked documents from deep inside the Pentagon. So, of course, a 21-year-old who is able to access vital information that you would think that journalists would be praising this guy, just like they'd be praising Julian Assange, just like they should be praising Edward Snowden for revealing information that is critical to the public. They are attacking him. They're attacking this 21-year-old, saying that he's vicious, that he's public enemy number one, that he's a threat to the establishment, he's a threat to the national security, and he is. He is. He's a threat to the imperialistic empire. He's a threat to the war machine because people are now understanding how the war machine is operating, especially when it comes to Ukraine, especially when it comes to the wars in Syria, just like all the other Pentagon leaks and the Afghanistan papers and the stuff that Julian Assange has posted on WikiLeaks. Everyone's not angry about the leaks, but they're angry at the person who is exposing the information. We truly live in a society of abuse denial, people that are in denial of abuse victims. We're literally that kind of society where we're more angry at the person that's telling us we're being abused than the abuser. We're more angry at the person who is trying to help us understand the world than the evil, nefarious stuff that's happening behind closed doors right under our noses. So, USA Today says Air National Guardsman Jack Teixeira's job, essentially a military IT tech, likely allowed him to give access to a trove of secret documents he's alleged to have leaked because he would have been familiar with the Pentagon's most secure computer network, current and former officials say. It's unlikely Teixeira would have been on the list of the hundreds of authorized recipients and secret assessments of the war in Ukraine, the battering Russian military, or U.S. efforts to spy on adversaries. So this is the stuff that we kind of knew about here on this channel. If you've been paying attention, following along, and digging deep into these stories, you would already kind of know about this. But this is confirming. This is confirming all those crazy, people saying that you're a conspiracy nut to think that the United States is spying on everybody. They're spying on adversaries. You're a crazy nut. Or the fact that, this is a manufactured war and they're using Ukraine as can fodder to go against Russia. This is a manufactured. Oh, no. This is about democracy. It's about humanity. Yada, yada, yada. This confirms all of our suspicions. This is confirming all of it because these are insider reports telling us that that the Ukraine war was purposely manufactured again to segregate Russia from the world's economy and try to isolate them. It didn't work out. It's biting us back in the ass. And now we're finally getting proof. And also the fact that we're spying on adversaries, which thanks to Edward Snowden, we know that the NSA and other, factions of the CIA and the FBI have been doing that for years. But again, this is proving those suspicions. But on September 30th, Tazaria was mobilized for active duty with the 102nd Intelligence Wing located at Otis Air Base in Massachusetts. Even today in federal custody, Tazaria remains active duty according to Nashuka McFadden, a spokesperson of the National Guard Bureau. While active on duty, he specialized in maintaining and safeguarding the Pentagon's computer systems, likely gave him access to the Joint Worldwide Communication, or JWICS, said Scott Murray, a retired Air Force colonel who specialized in intelligence. So they're angry at a 21-year-old. They're pissed off at a 21-year-old because instead of, focusing on Pokemon Go, he decided, hey, maybe when I'm playing video games, I got information that should be crucial for the general public. And it just seems so hilarious that all the years of, the people that are defending the oligarchy and the surveillance states, like I remember, hearing when the Patriot Act came out and everyone was like, well, you know what? I prefer mass surveillance because if you got nothing to hide, then the government should be allowed to open up your emails. Like you shouldn't have anything to hide then. I would say the same thing to the government. And considering our tax dollars are paying towards Pentagon, the tax dollars are going towards the military, don't you think you should know kind of offhand what the military is doing? Don't you think kind of in a way we should know exactly why the United States is paying $1 trillion of defense budget when we're really not defending anybody? Don't you think it's your civil duty and your right as a taxpayer to understand that? But no, they get pissed off when a 21-year-old is able to give vital information that you think journalists would be praising about this. This is what journalists should be going after, because this is holding the Pentagon, this is holding the powerful and corrupted accountable for their actions. But no, because the corrupted criminals have bought the media, so of course they're not going to look at the information, they're not going to look at the leaks, they're going to get angry at the 21-year-olds. And here's just an example of this. This is from recently on Meet the Press. And they're having a roundtable discussion on what we should do with this kid. What exactly we should be doing with this 21-year-old. Because he was just playing video games on Discord and next thing you know, he's leaking out all the information. What are we going to do with them? And literally, it sounds like, again, a society of people in denial of abuse. Like, they're angry at this kid and National Guardsmen for providing this information, then not holding accountable the military that has lied to us for years. Take a listen to this, though.
The intel committees are going to want some pound of flesh here, aren't they?
Yeah, my sources on the intel committees in Congress are saying that this is absolutely going to be an issue. There's going to be an all-senator classified briefing when they return this week, in the middle of the week. And the intelligence committees have a lot of questions. Not only why do so many people have access to classified information, and what sort of fallout is there from this? They want to know not what President Biden says, but what the Intelligence Committee is saying, what the fallout is going to be. So this is going to be an issue, but this has also been an issue when there have been leaks before after the Snowden issue. And Jay, you know better. I'm not sure how much change there has been in the classified.
I love how they said the Snowden issue. Edward Snowden is the issue. This guy is the issue. Julian Assange is the issue. But they don't ever tell you what the information they leaked out. That is how they're playing you. That's how they manufacture consent. So that you're angry at a 21-year-old who was playing video games at the time and leaked this on a Discord server, than being angry at the nefarious military practices that we've been doing for years and lied to. They're more angry at the person telling you that you're being abused than the abuser. That's how they're manufacturing the anger towards this kid. Again, do you think journalists would be hailing this kid as a hero? Because now you're finally holding the corrupted accountable, which is what journalism is supposed to be. But because the criminals have bought the media, and you just heard it there, like my friends in the intelligence community know better. I got connections in the military apparatus, and they can tell you different. My CIA buddies are going to all agree with me because I'm on NBC and that's how I got the connections, baby. God. This is why corporate news is such a joke. Literally such a joke. Like, I can get more information from some rando on Twitter than this. It's amazing. And here's also, so they did a press briefing on this too. And this is the Air Force minister doing a press briefing on what the Pentagon's response of these leaks. And again, listen to the journalist asking him questions on holding the kid accountable. They want to hold the leaker accountable, but not the military. The military that has lied to us. The military that we spent trillions of dollars waging warfare on innocent civilians. We have done international crimes, unspeakable, inhumane crimes against humanity. But none of that is ever held to account. They're more focused on a 21-year-old kid. And it's mind-blowing. Take a listen.
Okay, in the days after the leaks came to light, what steps has DoD taken to reduce the number of people who have access to not only these classified briefings, but the classified material in general?
Sure. So we continue to review a variety of factors as it relates to safeguarding classified materials. This includes examining and updating distribution lists, assessing how and where intelligence products are shared, and a variety of other steps. I would say, though, that it is important to understand that we do have stringent guidelines in place for safeguarding classified and sensitive information. This was a deliberate criminal act, a violation of those guidelines. And so, again, I think that's important to understand. Now, we will continue to do everything we can to ensure that people who have a need to know when it comes to this kind of information have access to that. We're always going to learn from every situation. But again, this is something that we'll continue to look at.
But you are taking steps to tighten.
We're going to learn from every situation. It's a learning curve. It's a learning process. We haven't learned to stop our war crimes. We haven't learned to stop lying to the general public. We haven't learned that, after countless accountants and audits on the Pentagon, how $21 trillion was held unaccountable. It's a learning process, and we're learning from it. Which is why when you give someone, a lot of money and they lose $21 trillion, the best thing you can do and learn from it is to give them even more money to a corrupted, inhumane power. That's the best way you can learn from a situation like that, right? Not, looking at information that exposes the war machine, exposes the entire criminality of this. That's how you learn, right? You punish the people that are speaking the truth, and you just pedestal the evil, nefarious people. But here's where the journalist really shines. Here's where the journalist is demanding accountability and to hold the kid accountable for leaking the information. This is unbelievable.
That, I guess, population who might have access to this level of information.
That's accurate. Again, we continue to review those distribution lists, update them, make sure there's a need to know. But again, let me just.
So I don't know if you heard that. She just asked him, how are you going to reduce the visibility to the population? How are you going to make sure that information is not spread to the general public? How do you make sure that you continue to censor so we can continue to manipulate? Because an informed public is their worst nightmare. An informed, engaged public is their worst nightmare. Because the more we know about the Pentagon, the less we would kind of support it. And the less we would blindly support it with our tax dollars. And maybe more people would question the Pentagon, question all the money that they wasted on this, and maybe, I don't know, hold them more accountable and maybe prosecute the actual criminals that are doing nefarious stuff. But that's not the learning part of this. The learning part is to let them get away with it.
Just emphasize my point that this was we have rules in place. Each of us signs a non-disclosure agreement. Anybody that has a security clearance, and so all indications are, again, this is a criminal act, a willful violation of those, and again, another reason why we're continuing to investigate and support DOJ's investigation.
Just last question. Do you have a sense that this is just the act of one individual? And even if so, wouldn't members of his chain of command also be held accountable for this lost information?
Again, I don't want to speculate or get ahead of the DOJ's investigation. We need to allow that to run its course, and so I'd refer you to them. Let me go ahead and go to Gordon, and then I'll come back to Jen.
Yeah, Pat, there's two questions. One, just to clarify, in DOD's efforts to change the way you do business in terms of protecting classified information, apart from the stuff that you do already, is that DOD-led or is that joint staff-led? Who's kind of directing what on that? And the second question is just hypothetically, I know you like hypotheticals, if somebody was to be charged, what would determine whether the military would charge and indict and carry out the legal process against that person or people or DOJ?
Yeah. So on your latter question, you're right. I don't want to get into hypotheticals. I will say that, as always, every case is judged on its own merits, and we need to allow this investigation to run its course. And then, of course, there'll be more to say on that. On your first question, again, it's important to understand that this is not just about DOD. This is about the U.S. government. This is about how we protect and safeguard classified information. And as I highlighted, we do have strict protocols in place. So anytime there is an incident, anytime there's an opportunity to review that and refine it, we're, of course, going to take advantage of that. Within the Department of Defense, as you've heard us say, Secretary Austin has been convening daily meetings with his senior leaders, to include the chairman, to talk about reviewing the scope and the impact of this, and also to look at mitigation measures and what we need to do across the Department of Defense to ensure that we're doing our utmost to reinforce existing policies, procedures, and rules, and if there are any areas where we need to.
But the rest of you have nothing to hide. Again, when I hear this, it just reminds me of all the times that people have defended the security apparatus. The fact that they're monitoring your text messages, your cell phone, your emails, your constant communications, everything. They have put all your information on a platter to give it to the most nefarious ghouls on earth. And yet, if we want to know something about them, we got an entire system that's blockading that information. It's all classified. It's blockade because it's very, 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 very important. But the rest of you ordinary citizens, you have nothing to hide, which is why we need to gather as much from you as possible. It's just utterly amazing. Utterly amazing. And that's how you know you're run by nefarious ghouls. Because people like Julian Assange, while they're getting tortured for being journalists and being truth tellers and publishing information so that we can be acknowledged on these, practices and know about the war machine, know about these efforts, know about what our government's actually doing with tax dollars, what the government's actually capable of doing. Knowing that information is vital to every single person And they want to hide it away from you as much as possible, which is why they're manufacturing consent for you to hate this 21-year-old kid, even though he's a National Guardsman, and now apparently the National Guard is something to be hated now because of one person had the spunk, had the moxie to show people this. It's downright nefarious, and we gotta take action on this. But yet they're not telling you what the information is holding. They're not telling you what the leaks are about. And the leaks are about how we lied to get into Ukraine. How we lied about surveilling on our adversaries. How we lied and manipulated people for the Pentagon to do international war crimes. Those people are never going to be held accountable. Those people are roaming free as we speak. But people like Julian Assange and this kid and Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning and Reality Winner and all these whistleblowers, all these people that are providing information, being the actual journalists I wish journalists actually had the spunk to do, they're the ones getting the abuse. Because again, we live in a crazed society where we're denialists of abuse victims. We're constantly living in our own denial. We're more angry at the person telling us we're getting abused than the abuser. And that's the U.S. military. That's the military apparatus. That is the imperialist empire. That's these nefarious people that do unspeakable things on a daily basis. They want you to be angry at a 21-year-old, but not them, even though they have done more heinous things. This kid was just playing video games and happened to tell people the truth. That's just the world that we live in. Just utterly despicable world.